office. Recognition of the public is Ian here for filming, Bob and Cheryl here from the solid waste, and Mike is here from the reformer. And then we move right along to approval of minutes for the last meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I got a blue pen for you to look at. You know this. It says Energy on it too.
That new one?
Yeah. Yes, I guess.
All right, I know one.
And new business. You're up, you guys.
Welcome. Thank you for
Welcome.
being a representative.
I'm not sure how much information you do or don't want.
We'll start to fall asleep and then you'll know.
Okay.
Duke's
very good at cutting
I
people
want
off.
the clock to see if we start talking and all the time we get enough
Okay.
information.
I did send over emails through Katie. Is that helpful or is that too much information?
You know what, we
or-
can always choose to disregard, and I think
Okay.
she always
So it's-
appreciates it.
Okay, okay. And then going in the opposite direction, the first meeting I went to, Bob mentioned that you had contacted him about the boxes at the Guilford store, and I was oblivious of it.
Mhm.
So if you could just copy
you in
me
the
on
loop,
that,
sure.
so I don't look like an idiot at the meeting, so that would
Well,
be
don't feel
helpful.
so bad. I read about it in the paper.
So,
That's how I found out that
Oh.
there was an issue. And thank you for covering it.
You did a good job, Mike, on that one.
No, that was last Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
a good,
believe.
good article.
so concerning those, I think that we're all squared away with leaving spot for 3 boxes there, for allowing for swapping one as opposed to having the extra transportation runs, and there's going to be a real camera
Yeah.
installed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you
that
have any
should be
sense of the
helpful.
timing of that?
We have the camera.
Oh, okay.
It's just what we would ask is Friends of Algiers. Phil Baker, our operations manager, was down there today and talked to. He wasn't sure who he talked to, but someone working in the store. And we need to have a electric outlet put. It'll be up near the camera will be near the attic, the window that's in the attic at
Yep.
the very top, and it needs an electric plug-in receptacle. And then, if Friends of Algiers would get enough Ethernet cable to run all the way down into where the router is in the office. I came back Friday after our meeting. Well, you stopped in briefly Friday morning, and met with Mark to make sure they had high-speed cable because we need that resolution. So we're all set. As long as they get, so to answer your question, if they can get the electrical stuff installed, then we'll just come down and mount it to the
Okay.
exterior.
Yeah, so you talked to Eric or whomever about that. They're all aware of it.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's up to them. They were racing to obviously get open.
What
So
about the lighting? Is that?
I haven't heard what the
Take
light
place
pole
or-
decision
They-
was.
They hadn't done anything on
All
it.
right.
I asked, I think it was Bill Jewell on Friday morning to see if anyone had acted on it, and they said, no, we're worried about getting the store open. So
Well, I do think, speaking, obviously involved with Friends of Algiers as well as I am, I do think that there would be, the ideal would be to have, to move the light that's where it is, near the store. Move it nearer the recycling area, and, because that's where we really need the light, and it would also actually make access to the store easier for deliveries, things like that, and handicap space. So I think it would do a better job of lighting the far reaches of the parking lot where the recycle bins are, which is where most of the, I'm not going to call it vandalism, but
Oh yeah, I'll
Right.
call it vandalism.
I'll call it vandalism.
Two fires.
The non-preferred activities take place.
Yeah, it takes
Yes.
place, and I think it
there
would
you go.
certainly help with cameras if they, what they were seeing was lit. So I think, I'm not sure who needs to be involved in that conversation. Green Mountain Power, town, or
The town
when
of
Well,
No, we won't have anything to do with that.
Okay.
One of the questions, Katie and I were down this morning, scoping things out again, was how far could they go from pole to pole without wondering, what's the minimum?
I don't know.
So
But-
that's a question
Power.
for Green Mountain
Yeah.
Power.
I
So
think-
you're really not involved with that?
No.
So let me ask another question about that then. It sounds like because of your needs for Ethernet and whatever, the idea of putting a camera on that pole would not be feasible. The camera will need
It
to be
has to
on the
be
store.
hardwired to.
Sure,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that answers
Yeah.
that. So,
There probably are wireless, but the one that we bought, and it was expensive,
Yeah.
is not
okay,
wireless.
well, it'll be great to
But,
have a
but
camera
what will
there.
be great is if we give you the IP address, you'll be able to look in
Mm-hmm.
whoever, it'll feed into the Wyndham Solid Waste office.
Mhm.
We have Brattleboro and Putney coming in there, and it's recording 24 hours a day.
Yep.
Enough storage space to go 30 days, and so it's continually recording. It's not a motion sensor, because there'd be all kinds of motion all the time. And then if there is an incident, you can just key in the date and time, and it'll go right there to that footage. And
It certainly motivates, I think, us to look at resighting the light so it's lit enough that you're recording something you can actually see.
so I think Eric was handling that, Eric Morris
Yeah.
with Green Mountain Power. Then Katie had said, could you give me the dimensions for the recycling area in case it ultimately is moved, you know? Eric's gonna put it on a site plan.
Okay.
He's got a nice site plan, so we'll have exact layout.
Well,
Great.
Dick and I were down there this morning, as he had mentioned, looking at the area, talking about really what we talked about on Friday, and that for right now, to leave them at where they are and wait and see how this all kind of fleshes out.
That's what Sean
It
and
could
I
end
were
up being a
saying.
non-issue.
Right.
So I think we're kind of in a temporary.
Sure.
The issue was, would Wyndham Solid Waste continue to have these drop-off boxes once the new recycling law comes into effect?
Right.
And when
So-
every hauler will have to offer curbside collection of recyclables.
So,
We haven't made any decisions, and it would be a whole board decision and a vote. It's a big decision.
and if that law comes into effect, when?
What is in effect? It passed last year.
And it hasn't been
It takes
amended,
effect
correct?
July,
July
July 1st, 2015.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So we have time to.
we have time to figure out how with the haulers, how a town like Guilford or a small rural town
Yeah.
would handle that.
But could you also see, obviously there'd be a cost for the private haulers picking up recycling now, that maybe the consumer will say, well, I'm just gonna do my trash and continue to do my own recycling, because I haven't paid for that before and I don't wanna start doing that now. If it's not a convenience issue for them. Some people will totally pay and say, it'd be great if you could do it, I'll just pay you to do it.
But you're right, there'll be a fair number of people that say,
There
I'm
might be
not
a fair-
hiring a hauler.
Yeah, I
The
haven't
rates
paid
are
for
gonna
it
go
before,
up.
so why should I now? I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate to kind of,
And then
I
what
feel
is
like
their
it-
option?
yeah,
They'd have to drive to Brattleboro.
right, and stockpile it,
So
sure.
So
it
this
could
would
very
be-
well
so
end
it
up we
could-
keep the boxes.
Sure,
Well,
so
if you're bringing your trash anyways.
Or it could be
you have
town.
to-
It could
you
be
have to
town by
recycle
town.
really well, you might only have to go once a month.
It could
where
be
you're
town by
recycling.
town, like, Vernon has, when your taxes, you get curbside trash.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
And Brattleboro and Westminster.
So are we kind of moving into general update here? Is that part of what
Well, we did, but I wanted,
Now we're getting
but I wanted to
sidetracked.
It
just,
kind of all goes together.
one other
Yes.
thing we talked about back at the store is signage.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna need some no parking signs, and I think, is that Friends of Algiers or the town that would put those in?
Oh, where?
Well, where along the grass on the north end of the parking lot, now that we've moved that
Close.
container very close to the grass,
Sure.
we're leaving like a 2 to 3 foot strip so people won't have to get their, walking there. But if someone parks there when our truck's coming to pull the box, they can't access the box.
I would assume that'd be Friends of Algiers. When I think of a rental situation, I think we're kind of renting the space from them, so
Well, there's kind of, and we can talk about it more
Yeah.
after you guys leave, so you don't have to hear, but there's a few different issues of who should be responsible for what.
Yeah,
Okay.
but my quick answer to that this morning was 15-minute parking. Because
Yeah,
if I go to the
that's all
store,
we need.
I go to the
Yeah.
store, I park over there because I have a habit of
And the
trying to
driver,
walk.
actually, right now, people do block and they
Yeah.
just wait, well,
Yeah.
back in the store,
Yeah.
they wait till they come out, they're not in there
Yeah.
shopping like a Price Chopper.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, but there is a
But no, they
restaurant
could be
there.
eating.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's all
different.
different.
Some of the Friends of Algiers people were concerned that people were using it for a park and ride.
And they
Yeah,
have to
and
have
that's,
two.
that's
So
why,
that was
that's
the
why
issue of the
the
long-term
15 minutes.
So
parking.
15 minutes would be
no
good.
permanent
Yeah.
parking.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
But, and then we were thinking, Friends of Algiers wanted to put a similar to their planter fence, you know, the series of plant, along the south line of where the boxes are, we marked it on,
Okay.
just to demark that
Sure.
spot. And then we probably have a no parking sign there, or,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
No parking beyond this point.
yeah, just something like that. But we can talk about that later.
Sure.
So, if you want to move on to anything,
No, but thank you,
Beyond
and
that.
I think, you know, it's great that you guys were able to come out and work that out. Sorry I
Twice.
couldn't be here, but.
Twice in
But-
1 week.
I got to tell you, we had about 4 meetings, but everyone was very active and
Mhm.
helpful.
Good.
I like the one Friday morning the best. 'Cause
Well, that was good. You just zoomed in and said, "I'm out of here." I came down with our driver to play around with the boxes
Yeah,
early,
good.
and then
Good.
Dick just stopped in on his way north.
He just stops in.
I know he was checking on me. I know.
Follows up on all of us.
So, in terms of long term, this, you know, the last time I was here, Betty had set up a meeting. You know, we had Tim here, and did Craig? Yeah, Craig came. Just to kind of give the town an update. And Mike Hebert was
Mike
here.
Hebert was here
Yeah.
too, yeah.
And really not a lot's happened since then. I think the stark reality of what they created is starting to hit home to the haulers in particular. Cheryl, I want you to know, and this I hadn't told you I was going to say this, but has been instrumental in giving feedback to the state about this law and what it means. And she found a section of the law they didn't even know was in there, which basically would not have required small haulers, 1 ton or less. They're not required to register with the state under the current solid waste regs. Somehow they didn't include that in the new law.
Mm.
So, and Cheryl, explain what the impact could be on if that.
Well, it's just not a
Does
fair.
it exempt you?
No, it wouldn't exempt us. No, we have definitely bigger than 1 ton.
Okay, but
pickups.
does it exempt the smaller?
It would exempt them from recycling, and if the goal is to
Yeah.
recycle, then they shouldn't, why
There's a
would they
hole
want to
in
leave
it.
out? And
Yeah.
I've heard through some of the other people in Bob's position, in other other sections of the state, that some of them, that's the majority of their haulers are just those types of trucks, especially like Northeast Kingdom and
Sure.
Middlebury, I was told by Teresa,
Yep.
she said that, and the state currently doesn't make them even register or, you know,
So that they could literally, if they didn't change that part of the law,
They'd have a
those
big
haulers could
loophole.
then go to all the people who don't
Underpriced,
want
yeah.
to do this and
Right.
say, hey, you don't need the big guys, we'll come around. And there's,
It's an opportunity.
we have quite a few in
Right.
this county. I think we've estimated 15 to 20 that we know
yeah, there's
of.
definitely more in numbers that are working with the
Makes you
smaller
want to
trucks.
split
but-
up and make some small LLCs
Well, I
for
said to
yourself,
Kathy
right?
You could do
Jameson in
that.
the state, I said, so if we sell our big trucks and just get a bunch of 1 tons for gold and I don't have to follow any of this new law, she said, yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
So is
So-
your anticipation that they will deal with that?
They're talking about
Yeah.
it, but
There's a whole list of things that have been, so what happens is the staff at A&R has been meeting with different groups like the districts and then they give a report to the legislature, really to Mike Hebert's committee, he's House, Environment and Energy, where it started.
Yeah.
And then they'll make recommendations. Do they amend the law or how else? Cheryl actually went and drafted a registration for small haulers to get it going, that the district could pass an ordinance, Wyndham Solid Waste, to register small haulers if the state doesn't. So and we've been working with the hauling groups in the county, businesses, meeting regularly for 6 months
for a while.
to try to figure this out. So, and Cheryl's their spokesperson.
Oh, yeah. Some districts, Middlebury is an example, they already register beyond what the state requires.
And Northeast Kingdom does too.
Do they too? Yeah.
When you say register beyond what the state requires, you mean all the small haulers
Yes.
registered?
Yes.
Now, is anyone who has a commercial trash collection business in Addison County and
Voluntarily,
Northeast,
or their regulations,
Or
their local
That's their
regulations?
regulations, their
Okay.
solid
The
waste.
districts
yes.
have-
Got it,
Okay.
okay.
Yes.
thank you.
So if they don't register, what's the impact of that to their business? They can't.
they can't collect waste in that
That's
district.
part of their, it's like
Okay.
their ticket to.
It's not about collecting a fee. It's a
Right,
minimal
yes.
fee,
Oh,
but
no,
it's
no,
more
they-
about having, well,
Regulation.
actually, to be honest, it is about money. Because most districts have a surcharge. Remember the famous surcharge?
Yeah.
And I wasn't working at the district then, where they get a per ton charge for every ton of trash. So they want to know exactly how much trash is getting disposed of, because the district's revenues flow from that surcharge.
Sure.
Wyndham is the only district with no surcharge.
Because the districts in the other areas all have the transfer stations, it's all part of one area, so it's all combined. Where our transfer station is separate from the district,
Yeah, we don't, that's,
They
you
don't
know,
handle
triple,
the
that's Norm's business,
Norman's.
you know, and we just,
so it's two separate entities.
Private and public.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I think what I've gathered is the district, and I was on the district for Vernon for 3 years, is fairly progressive in that it allows the private sector to do as much as we possibly can around trash. The district stays away from trash, just does the recycling, which is usually something the haulers don't really want to do.
Until we're gonna be forced
I
to.
know.
So it's been a happy marriage.
So yeah, it's been
Yes.
very, and I like it. I mean, we have a great relationship with our haulers. I mean, we meet with them regularly. We've got at least 5 active hauling companies, as you know, right around here. So that's it.
Any other general update? It's good to hear what's going on with that.
I can just give you a heads up that our budget that we're doing for Wyndham Solid Waste, we set the budget in December of each year for
Yep.
the following fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not looking good because the commodity market for selling recyclables is really upside down now. So the district has a per capita assessment, and last year we reduced it 5% for all the towns because the revenues were very strong. But now the commodity market's down, so whatever we don't get in revenue, we have to go back to the assessment. So we don't know what that number will be yet, but it's going to be up. But it's not a huge part of any town's budget, but it's still
an increase.
it's a,
And that is for fiscal year
15,
15. Okay.
Well, the other
which will start July
Of 2014.
14.
Okay,
Right.
just so we know how to
The
plan.
other variable that's unknown that Phil mentioned is that Triple T is doing the composting in Brattleboro now. He used to bring all of their cardboard. Well, to make the compost work, you like some fiber, and
Sure. So they're
so
keeping
they
their,
might be losing some of the valuable cardboard commodities. So
But-
it's a give and take, you know.
Sure.
The district is now composting on our site. We got a permit. Brattleboro's curbside organics. All of the organics that Triple T's collected for years has gone to Greenfield, to Martin's farm.
Huh.
But Brattleboro, they didn't want, Triple T and the town didn't want to have it hauled all the way down to, so they
Greenfield.
asked us, and so we opened a small, we got a permit, it's just very low tech, but we're meeting Thursday night, our operations committee, which Betty used to chair, but now it's chaired by Scott Bushy from Winhall, is looking at some kind of technology to invest in some enclosure, so, because we're just doing it on the ground.
Sure.
You know, it works, but in the winter.
So what do you do with the compost?
We haven't made any final product yet,
Oh, that's-
but we plan to sell it,
Yeah.
screen it and sell it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 900 individual residences, homes
Yes.
participating voluntarily.
Yeah.
Are you curbside compost? All right.
So
Well,
when you
it's
say
going really
900,
good.
Is that Brattleboro?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's municipal curbside
Yeah.
trash, municipal
People
curbside
follow the
recycling.
rules. I assume they say
They're doing
no
an
meat
amazing
products
job.
and no thing, you know.
They're
like
doing
that.
an amazing job. I'm pleasantly surprised.
That's great.
Although the second day I go out to see the load, and there's 2 sweaters, cotton sweaters, 6 pairs of socks. So I pull them out. They're a little bit wet and goopy.
Stinky.
And I took a picture of them with my cell phone, and I sent them to Moss Kaler, the recycling director. By 4 that afternoon, everyone in the program had a picture of those sweaters, and he just said, from now on, this is cotton, but it isn't really compostable. All right?
Good.
Things looking good then?
Yeah, I have no other
It's going
questions.
good.
That's great.
We're
Thank
really
you.
glad to have Cheryl,
Yeah.
I must say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're really glad to.
I meant to
Thank
say
you,
that right
Cheryl.
up front.
Yeah, thank you.
So
Anything else?
Thank you.
Just, well, you know, I don't know about Carbon Harvest, do you wanna report anything on?
They're in bankruptcy, you know, they
Yeah.
built
We
the
knew that, I saw
greenhouse,
that.
and we don't know what's gonna happen. The state, Vermont Economic Development Agency, VEDA, who loaned them a lot of money, is now looking to, is working with the trustee, the bankruptcy trustee, to
Kickstart.
sell the whole thing or piecemeal it off. So we're still somewhat hopeful that someone will step in, but it appears the economics were not what were presented. So it's
Did
a
they
big
get too big
disappointment.
too fast? I mean, I don't need to,
We don't know.
I mean, because it
We
seemed
don't
like a
really
good
know.
idea at the time, and
Oh, it was a beautiful setup last October. The greenhouse was filled with basil and
Mhm.
different greens, and they were getting ready to do the fish. They had in the book bindery, they had tilapia, fingerlings growing, and I ended up having to compost all that basil and fish
oh wow.
because they just cleaned it out.
Hmm.
So it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful building if you've seen it.
I haven't. I should. See
It's a
something.
14,000 square foot greenhouse
Wow.
that is heated with the gas, the heat from the landfill gas generator.
Mhm.
So the concept was good. Here's the electricity coming off the gas, the heat. There's a lot of heat. It's called a combined heat and power unit. They collect the heat, and they were heating water through a heat jacket and running that through the greenhouse, and it kept it 80 degrees all winter.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
So stay tuned.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for coming out.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Yeah,
Thanks,
very
Cheryl.
much.
Take care.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
wine,
Wine.
wine.
We've got another request. Somebody else have
We
another wedding?
did.
Having another wedding?
Guilford's a popular spot.
I don't know. I went to the first one. I'm not sure about this one. So.
Request a Gator malt and vinous
I know.
beverages and spirituous liquors.
Spirituous liquors.
Yeah.
Yep.
Beer, wine, and booze.
It's for Addison and
Does it
Addie's
say
son's
where?
Oh,
wedding.
it's
Does it say where?
Chris Minot's wedding.
Okay, yeah. that thing is-
Do we have to make a motion on
I
Yeah.
think you
Yep,
should,
to
yeah.
approve it.
that? We'd like to make the motion that we approve the request for the, I'm going to say beer, wine, and booze from the Wyndham Wine for the wedding out in Guilford.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. When's he getting married?
I think July
6th
6th.
of July.
Ooh,
Give
busy
you a
weekend.
I'll be with my mom.
Lister's request for extension of the large grand list, which is a yearly thing.
This is their second
The
request.
second
So the
request.
first one I think got them to today,
Yeah.
and then they need another 2 weeks, so they've asked
By
for
all
a second.
means, I think, and with all the things that have gone on, they ought to have that.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that maybe that'll be a habit we can break, but certainly not this year. I have no
I have
plans
no.
for this year. Do we need a motion? I move that we accept the request for an extension of the date to lodge the grand list by, that was requested by the listers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Need to sign that one. And the listers again, the MLS, Multiple Listing Service, Real Estate Portal System, request to join them.
I remember we heard a little bit about this a month or so ago, and I guess the questions I have at this point is cost-benefit analysis. What's the cost, what's the benefit?
Do you want me to read their?
Sure.
If you would, please.
Certainly. The Board of Listers is requesting approval for obtaining access to the MLS system. Our job as listers is to analyze market data throughout our town and market. Although we have access to closed sales within Guilford limits, typical buyers will be looking for real estate in surrounding towns such as Halifax, Emerson, and Putney, for which we have no access to sales data. In order for a sale to qualify as a fair market sale, it has to be properly exposed on the market, allowing for the due diligence process to take place between buyer and seller. With the MLS system, one is able to view a listing history of a property. If the property sold within a few days on the market, possibly a low list price or selling under market value, if the property has been listed for over a year, indicating an overpriced listing. Although we get transfer data on sales in the town of Guilford, they do not necessarily qualify for a fair market sale. Having the MLS would allow us to determine this information. Several other towns in the state are currently using this tool to assist them. Other information that can be gleaned from this includes property details on improvements done on inside or through addition of outbuildings. With lack of zoning, improvements are performed sometimes without any knowledge to the board, causing for some properties to be taxed unfairly. Through the MLS, you're able to pull sales that happened over 2 to 3 years ago, further supporting valuation. In preparing for what appears to be an impending reappraisal, it is important to get the most current information available, allowing the board to develop credible land schedules throughout the town. The yearly fee of $650, when looked at in terms of education, is our opinion more valuable than 1 or 2 courses by the state for $300+ per class.
Otherwise, comparing the prices from town to town to town, sales.
And rather than, and they're comparing the value of the, of being a part of the MLS service as opposed to taking a few classes. They're saying,
Yes.
they're justifying the expense that way.
Yes. And obviously it will only be helpful for properties that are sold or that are listed.
Right, but it certainly broadens your frame of reference
Yep.
significantly.
Yep.
I mean, there's not a
It
lot
could
of
give you
sales in Guilford.
comparables, I would
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I did ask, I went and asked them this afternoon what towns they know of that use MLS in the area, and they only knew of Brattleboro and Vernon. And
But MLS service, the information is available for all towns. It's just what towns, listers'
Subscribe to
offices. Yes.
Mm.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, because you can go to the website and you can see certain information, but not in the depth that you would need if you were to subscribe to it.
Well, I'm fine with it. I'm going to trust their judgment, and I think if they feel that that would be a benefit, I have no reason to doubt their.
I don't either.
I think that I would make a motion that we approve their request to join MLS real estate, their MLS listing service.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Barrow and Fisher Oil Company price protection agreements. What is the deadline on that for?
Ooh, it's
Or- It is, but you know what? They've always extended past. The date is 10th, and it's 14 days past that. So guess what?
Okay, so
It's already expired.
I'm curious if we had not to do a little shopping.
Well, I wondered about that myself. I wonder what the other options are.
I'm just
I
going
mean,
to say that
certainly.
we have not participated in pre-buy for the last 2 years,
Uh-huh.
and we have benefited hugely in not doing that
We've benefited by not
because
doing
of the
Yeah.
price
Price
variation.
fluctuation.
yeah.
How much did they lock it in for?
Their pre-buy prices are 3.469 for fuel oil and 4.049 for kerosene. What do you use at the school?
Number 2 diesel.
Number 2.
Through
Last year we got it through, Jim King got it through Discount Oil over in Keene.
you don't happen to know what your cost per gallon was?
Last year?
Yeah. Or you don't know what's
I
being
don't
offered
know.
last
That's-
year? Okay, I
that's-
wasn't sure if you had exposure to that.
That's his big baby. It all goes into one big pot and then it gets divvied up amongst
Well, no,
the
I
schools.
got a
I'm
quote.
sure he gets a heck of a good deal with
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got a
Safety
quote a
numbers.
couple days ago, less than that, for oil for myself, so that's why I'm wondering.
Well,
if
that's
we
why I
ought to
wondered.
shop.
So you said 349 basically.
347.
And you're telling us that over the past couple of years we've benefited by not participating because the price went down as low as.
I don't know for certain what, but kind of riding the fluctuation from month to month, we did better in not doing it because the prices dropped
Yeah.
from what the pre-buy was.
So that makes me wonder. If,
Mm.
I mean,
We've made it through the last 2 years.
And I can also call them and see if they would give me over the course of the last year what the rate was per month.
I
And
think
see
that would
how
be
it
good
compares.
information, and I think it might not be bad to check with Fleming, aka Dead River, and
I
whoever.
emailed Fleming.
Uh-huh.
I was going to call Coda and Coda.
Yeah.
And what's the other one?
Discount, who you say over in Keene?
Yeah.
Discount Oil.
Discount oil?
Discount oil, you got Sandry. I think we checked with Sandry last year and they were about the same.
So,
You also
okay.
need to check with Dan and see, cause Dan might have
Sure.
some, but yeah, let's
So
kinda.
we'll do a little bit more research.
let's
Yeah.
run that.
I
Table
mean,
that
we've
one?
been long-standing customers, and
I'm happy to stay with them if something's a lot cheaper and.
yeah. Okay.
Cause they also deliver the diesel for the trucks and all that stuff.
Right.
Right, so
that-
Dan might have an
yeah,
opinion.
Yeah, he might have an Old business website.
There was a little bit of a
Kerfluffle.
That's a great word. I was trying to look for a really nice, tidy word to summarize that.
Kerfluffle?
Kerfluffle. There was a kerfluffle with our current
That looks
website
sticky with you.
type of the top.
Exactly.
After the camera's
Yeah.
off, I'll tell you
I
what I
was gonna
really
say,
need.
I was having a hard time finding
Chickens
the right
fluttering
word.
around in the little
Yeah,
kerfluffle.
yeah,
Mhm.
That's a
Um,
cluster.
There, the school obviously has been doing the town's piece of the website for quite a while. In addition to a lot of other community information that's on there posted by other groups, I happened to just accidentally get copied on an email. Stuart Strothman, who is the Gazette teacher and website person, he was sending to BCTV to let them know that they shouldn't send links to the meetings anymore because the website would be taken down by the end of the day on Thursday. So I emailed and said, what? We didn't know. And our website isn't ready to go live yet. We just signed the contract with GovOffice.
Mhm.
We've been talking about what types of content need to go on there and gathering all sorts of information so that we can sit down and have our training to get our website up, and we'll load our stuff on there, work out the kinks, and we hope that by the fall it will be live and that we could transition over. But the idea of the other one disappearing altogether was kind of sudden, and no other community groups nor the town were notified that it was taking
Can I
place.
ask who's behind that?
No.
I think where we stand now, and I'll follow up with Kathy, because Kathy has been the one who does a lot of our updating on the website for us, and she had no idea. And I think that we have gotten them to leave the website up through the fall. So
How long will it take us to get our new website up?
Peter's been working a lot on that, actually.
Mhm.
He probably would know better than anybody.
Is he on jury duty? Did I heard that rumor?
Yeah, that little dirty master rumor is indeed true.
22nd of July, after jury duty.
Hmm?
22nd of July.
You
after-
start?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of where
Okay.
we're at.
Well, I appreciate your efforts in doing that and in catching that, because that would be too bad.
Well, I mean, there would be this, but I think that there's a fair number of people who have gotten used to reading minutes and watching the video
Mm-hmm.
online, in addition to, library updates or whatever
Yeah.
other stuff that people
Yeah.
post.
Grange?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on there, so I think it's important to maybe keep it indefinitely, see if we can't push that. So,
Well, just a minute. Keep that the school.
the community could keep it, or this, I don't know why the school would kill their own domain name.
Yeah, okay.
I don't understand that.
No, I don't, okay.
So,
And I,
maybe the school board
So-
might be interested in that.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I hope it hangs on long enough so we can get ours going. Yeah. The library exterior painting.
So we received, it was Mitch Momini. Is that who you
Oh.
did with?
Is that Mo Momini?
Walters
There's lots of Mominis.
Yes.
is
I think that one's Mo.
Is that the person? So
Yeah.
that was who you called it. But that's
You
the
said it was
company
Mo
name.
Momini?
Well, when I said the company name, you go, I didn't give you that. I said,
Yeah.
I think you did. But you gave me Momini.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
Hey, I got a lot of numbers running through my head.
So, also, lead certified, insured, everything. So,
And
Um,
Southern Vermont? Can I
that's-
see the Momini one just for a second?
yes. And both within very close to each other, Eddie Charbonneau, who's from Guilford,
Mm-hmm.
and Southern Vermont are like very close in price. I had talked to Eddie Charbonneau actually I didn't talk to him, we communicated through email after last week's meeting, and he said I could probably do better on price. And I asked him if we could maybe negotiate a little bit. And
Did he? Is he going to
I think that he's willing to do that, so I was hoping that I could get your blessing, that if we could get him to negotiate to a lower price, and maybe, if not, include the town office, because our,
So I don't understand that. You're saying if he won't negotiate to a lower price, you're saying throw in the town office.
for the same price,
Ah,
little wheel and deal.
one thing here, it says replace one window pane and 4 cracked storm windows. Is he gonna be able to replace, I mean, I don't know that being a historical building, if he can just throw any old glass in there.
I think they're pretty used to doing historic buildings.
So they, yeah,
Actually, both of them are.
yeah.
How big a crew does Eddie Charbonneau have? And
I don't know.
I wonder with either of them, only because I think in the case of painting, sometimes you feel like it, you know, have a couple guys in there, it can go a lot faster.
I think they both have crews.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty significant difference in price at this point.
Between those two?
Well, $1,000.
$7, $1,000, yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
Wait a minute.
10.7 versus 9.6?
well, 9.9 actually.
9.9.
Oh, no,
Oh,
total,
okay.
total. Sorry, I missed
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's okay.
looking at
I was
the-
like,
Uh-huh.
did I miss it? Because I haven't been feeling it.
I was with you, you've been wiping that back and forth, I'm gonna just look at it. All right, there we go, yeah.
Oh, I see. So it's really a couple $100.
It's a couple $100.
Sure.
And if
But-
he, and where he's from, Guilford, I don't know how y'all feel about.
Well, I always think if, you know, if it's not, as I looked at the number up above, I'm sorry. I felt like if it was the $1,000 difference, I couldn't justify
Oh, no,
that.
no.
But for, if, you know, for a very, very comparable price, and if you can, I'm not sure if you would kick in doing the town office for the same price.
Well, it's just around the entryways.
Oh,
It's
I-
Well,
minimal.
the thing with the town hall, we don't have lead paint here, so we can,
Well, we don't, but it's if your building was built after 1978 and we're 1971, and if he's willing to throw it in, Why
no,
would
if
we
your
use
building
it?
was
No,
painted
be-
after
be-
1978, I mean, before 1978, I don't think it has to be
No.
new construction.
I
No,
don't
the
know.
girls-
I'll double check.
the girls that I talked to in Montpelier said,
'Cause
20
the
years,
original paint on there would have been lead.
20
That's what I'm
years
saying.
ago, they didn't have lead paint,
Right, that's correct.
and this was built in,
71.
71 is before.
not,
Yeah, but the 4-year, the enclosures wasn't built.
yeah.
Those was
I
put
don't
on.
Check
in-
it out.
Yeah.
At any
Yeah.
rate, but whatever we can do, if he could throw that in, that'd be great. And I would, do you want to, do we want to make a decision tonight? Because if we did, I would certainly move
I
to
would love to, just so we
support
can get this.
Eddie Charbonneau. It was a couple $100 difference if you can get him to include that. And
Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. I'll be so happy to just get this thing
I mean, I don't know Mitchell Momini. If it's Mo Momini, I know he's very good, and I'm happy that he.
Town office
Submitted
tidy
a
up.
bid.
What's the town office tidy up? I thought we tidied up every day around here.
done. We kind of talked about the first part of, which is can the town office be rolled into the library paint job?
Yeah.
The second one is we really need to do the front walkway.
Up there?
We've talked about it.
The
a
ankle
lot.
twister?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't do it tonight because it's raining and we're busy tomorrow. Other than that, I still say that we can do that on our own.
What needs to be done?
Some of it just needs to be crack filled and that one needs to be removed and a bed put under it and cement.
That one
repoured.
block right out
I
there?
think there's two.
Uh,
Two are fully
One's
cracked.
cracked, yeah.
Two are.
Yeah.
The first one and the second one
Yeah.
are.
So what do we need to fill in the hole
We
there?
need a load of stone and we need some
Cement.
cement.
Could the guys do that?
The guys could do that.
I
mean-
don't really care.
Yeah,
Just as
no,
long
I
as
think we should get it
done.
done ASAP because we are lucky that nobody's
My sister?
besides your sister, who
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
God is related.
Thank you. I'm so glad you just said that.
So
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if we need a motion. I can't imagine the expense would be much if we get,
It
No,
it
I'm
won't
just
be
saying
if
we
we
need to
do it,
schedule
if
it
it's a
in.
higher contractor, there again.
no, I
prices
understand
get
that, but I
up,
think we
so
just
it-
gotta get it done, get her
Yeah.
done. So,
Yeah.
So maybe when they do the tree,
Maybe
we
we
could
need,
do that and we can have a
maybe
town
we
office
need,
day?
maybe we need a work meeting.
Okay.
all right, I'll work, but I won't do that. Ian will be here.
Ian's gonna
Ian,
come
Mike,
in
you up
and-
for it?
Yeah, sure. We'll cook.
Hey,
We're a whole work bee
Absolutely.
town
We
We'll
here.
just
shovel,
the
we
baking
we
and-
shovel snow one day.
Absolutely. We don't
Okay,
just shovel
what
snow
about,
there.
let's move on to grounds
Yeah.
improvement.
Okay. I also spoke with,
Wait, before we leave that, who's gonna talk to the guys about, you wanna take care of that, head up, what's gotta be
Yeah,
done?
I will.
Okay.
we had mentioned this before, talking to, is it Tyler Hickley?
Mm-hmm.
Who does expert lawn care. He happened to be mowing our lawn today. He had done a little bit of work, but didn't quite understand what we were asking of him, so I talked to him today about getting our front gardens to a point where we can just maintain them, because they're way over. He goes, look, they're already all grown in. I'm like, we need like mulch and stuff that keeps them kind of as they are, so that we can look less ratty out there. So if we can.
So we've got some shrubbery out there, and that's basically it.
shrubbery
So-
and perennials in the.
So if we got, I'm gonna guess $40 worth of mulch from D&E, it could look good pretty much for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little sweat out there. Of
Mhm.
There's a lot of.
I would help with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, does anyone?
I'm good at mulching,
anyone
not so
know
much
Tyler?
at building
Yeah.
we walk with.
Oh, speaking of that, did you plant a poppy too?
No, did I plant a poppy
Oh,
there?
yeah, that one.
Sidebar.
It was a seed.
Sidebar. Is it pale?
I think we'll talk about.
Really?
We're good. How about we have a gardening discussion after we adjourn? Does that sound good?
I'm going to stand by you.
It's a little
So
bit-
when do we want to schedule, I mean, do we want to try and do that for this season?
Yeah.
I don't. I'm just saying.
It's
I also.
Best to get
Dick's
it
gonna
in
get
now.
cheap mulch, I will weed and spread that
I
mulch.
hate to say now is done as of the end of this week,
Yeah.
but I was wondering. I didn't know. Is Tyler a Guilford guy?
Yes.
Sure.
I mean, would he?
It's-
Would he
it's-
work with us? Could we do
Pete-
some
it's
sort of?
Peter's son.
Okay, well, let's see if we can't get some sort of
Yeah.
community project.
You need to show me what needs to happen, but I'd be happy to
Yeah,
help.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
you got to get these climbing spikes. You see this tree?
No, I'm not doing that.
no, I
with
don't
the
know if you
rope.
guys ever really look hard at the building when you're here,
I never
but we
do.
look so shabby.
Okay.
We do.
I always think it
It
looks
needs
kind
to
of
be
cozy.
power washed. Oh, okay.
All right, so grounds improvement,
Yep.
Tyler Higley,
Not a whole lot of money, just a little help.
sweat equity.
Yep.
Okay.
And here's this little repeater that's on there. Is anything happening?
Roof repair, that'll be done on the weekend, possibly this coming weekend.
Who's doing that?
Travis.
Travis
No.
Slade?
Okay, Travis.
Slade and Rick.
Okay.
He couldn't do it this last weekend because he was in Burlington with me. Yeah, that should be done. He said he'd probably do that on the weekend. There is another leak somewhere there. But I'll never go
Is
over.
it-
They're gonna go over the whole
Is
roof
it in
anyway.
the vestibule or the other
I
part of the
think-
roof?
I don't know. Michelle said something about it. She said, should I go to the town office? I said, no, you might as well tell me because I'm going to tell the guys anyway.
Okay.
So they'll go over the whole roof.
Okay.
Rescue Inc. rep.
This is more kind of just to kind of put it on the horizon that I would love for Penny to come to a forthcoming meeting to discuss the commitment level that she has on the rescue board. She spends tons of time going to meetings for nothing. I mean, like she had a rescue meeting tonight, and the meetings are like 4 and 5 hours sometimes. So I don't know if it makes sense to have her come talk about what she does there and see if I don't know.
Yeah,
how to
and then I
improve
think
that.
we need, I think the value of that would be for then us to both give feedback to rescue and to encourage other towns to as well. If they're asking, it's like when Dennis was on Wyndham Regional, if they're
Right.
asking in unreasonable amounts from their
Astronomical
volunteers,
amounts.
they're not gonna get any.
Yeah,
That's a
I
volunteer
agree.
position, so I would love to see if she could come to our first July meeting.
Okay.
It'd be a good time for that, if they don't, if she
Assuming they
doesn't.
don't have a meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would be July 8th.
And then I think we should, I think we could write a letter to rescue, but I think the real value would be to CCing other towns around to see if anybody else, has
See
that.
what they do for their.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that she shared in the office here that we found pretty scary was that they're going to have a $700,000 budget shortfall this year. In a $4 million budget. That's
That's
Thank you.
huge.
huge.
It's huge. Yeah.
So it's a shortfall in revenue, and they're saying it's Medicaid and Medicare, but
Yeah, and I
That's
think some of that
extraordinary.
has to do with the cuts in the feds and
sequester type cuts,
Yeah,
or?
yeah, because they, yeah.
I don't know, that's a lot of money.
And I hope we don't have to swallow it all town by town. I mean, that's a lot of money to, yeah.
Makes you wanna rethink things.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
Okay.
just wanted to give you a heads
Yeah.
up and let you know that if she's attending, that's gonna be why.
Ordinance policy update.
I asked Katie to put that on the agenda.
You did?
I did, because I just wanted to find out where we were. We did a nice job of getting a few of our policies updated. We did a few, we did some work on ordinances, and I think did we get any of them?
No.
So, just to see where we were, how we can prioritize.
Dan and I have a July 11th meeting. I hate to say it's that far off, but it's
That's
that
all
far
right.
off because between our two schedules. Two, he's taking next week off, and then that puts us.
That's fine, but
Yeah.
what the meeting is about,
He and I are going to meet about the highway and road ordinance
and,
do paving bit. Do basically spend a day on highway.
okay,
I mean, it's the only way to.
And Walter and Marianne and I have to sit down with the
Dog
dog
ordinance.
ordinance and go
You went to a
totally
good
through that.
workshop.
do we have to do, if we're gonna adjust the traffic ordinance, do we have to do speed? Do we have to involve Matt
No,
Mann?
well, yeah, we do because of two speed limits we want to change.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, just one, actually, the one down here.
And the one, well, the one
We're
by the
just-
Bluebird
we're
House.
gonna move the sign by the
We're
Bluebird
just
House.
gonna
We're
move
not
the
gonna change the
signs, we're not
speed.
changing the speed.
But it
Yeah.
technically changes the speed in a section.
Oh, it
Yes,
does for
it
that
does, it
1,000
does.
feet or whatever it is
Yeah,
down to
so
Richards.
there's
Yeah,
two.
that's why I need a GPS, so there's the
Yeah.
two spots down there and the two spots down here, and yeah.
It's not that I'm trying to sweep it under the carpet. It's amazing how much stuff crops up.
Yeah.
Um,
What are you saying?
that, for example, the website. All of a sudden, a lot of time is being spent on gathering information for the website. We have year end that's coming up, so
Right.
we're starting to prepare for professional audit. So it's just, it seems like when you think there's a break,
There's not
Yeah.
a break.
There's no
I
break.
understand, I just feel like the
Yeah.
ordinances and policies,
it's hard.
it feels to me like those are the kinds of things that are, it's so easy to push to the back burner, and I'd much rather, but I think do you feel that our policies are in pretty good shape
I
at
think
this
our
point?
policies are okay.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
really
it's
about the
really
ordinances,
ordinances that
and
are
the dog
much-
ordinance, the floodplain ordinance, did
Yeah.
we?
Flood,
that-
flood hazard area bylaw. It's the dog ordinance, the flood hazard area bylaw, and our things
Highway,
relating to
traffic.
The
roads.
traffic one
And ancient
is
roads.
Sarah is supposed to have the sign thing all done here shortly.
Oh, really? Good, good, good.
All that's left was, when I spoke to the other day, was Heinsberg Road and the center road.
Okay,
Sarah.
so
Done the
she's
rest.
Sarah Moulton. Oh, not Sarah Moulton.
Yeah,
What's her name?
The original.
Okay,
She was supposed to do the road sign inventory back in the fall.
Yeah.
okay.
That was Jeff's protege or whatever
Mhm.
that
Okay.
was working on it.
Just thought I'd throw it out there to see.
It's all still down.
I mean, I
It's like
understand
a
we've got
guilty
road-
little friend that
Yeah,
sits on
I
our
know.
shoulder.
Yeah.
It's none of them things we've been throwing out there for a couple of years now. Yeah. Route 5, Bridge 5, over Broad Brook scoping phase, public input questionnaire submitted.
That was that questionnaire that came. I
Mhm.
submitted it. I just wanted everyone to know. I can send around a copy of it if you want
I
to read
would-
through
I
the
saw it.
questions.
I would say that they are doing a traffic survey on Route 5 starting today because
Yeah, they got the thing you do, Bob's out, they put the lines out.
Oh, perfect.
Up by
Traffic
the-
counts?
And I don't-
Second, up above the pottery place there.
Or is it Nels?
Yes,
Above the
they put
factory
there and then,
And I don't know whether that's to check the speed thing or check
Car count?
car count. I mean, it would do both, obviously, but,
And so who's put those, is that the
State, I'm
state,
sure-
that's
I'm
not,
sure
not
the state
in
put
regional,
that
it's
down.
gotta be the
It's the
state,
state.
yeah, okay.
and it would probably have some impact on whether they detour traffic when they do the bridge or not. They hate,
Detour to another route?
mhm.
yes, they hate doing, from any of the meetings I've been to, when in regional,
They
of
hate
the
putting
state
temporary bridge.
is very against putting a temporary bridge in if they can possibly avoid it.
And the
Because
reason,
of the cost,
yeah,
the
it
cost and the
significantly
time.
cuts cost on the project
yeah.
by just
Detouring,
sucking it up for a few
Mhm.
weeks, yeah.
all the way over to the hollow, or where else would they have to go?
Well,
Around
they
Vernon.
could come
Keats
up,
Brook
they could come
or
up Broad Brook
down
Road.
Broad Brook
Mhm.
or Tyler Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Broad Brook comes, is that above the bridge? That's right,
cool.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
the south, yeah.
Okay, they'll figure it out.
Okay, professional audit 13.
We're in the throes of that. We have the auditors coming July 8th and 9th for us to give them everything on this list.
Oh,
So, so wait a minute, you have the professional auditors coming in July 13th or 14th to give, and,
To start to gather all of our information.
and this is Mudgett, this is our friend, what's her name?
This is Erin
Erin.
Packey.
And so if she's gathering stuff those days, then when does she anticipate doing that?
Oh, it will be, that's just the preparation. So that's
So maybe
gathering
end of
the-
September? She's been incredibly, I mean, pretty timely with,
Probably
Yeah.
October. Because we have through August to back things into
Sure.
fiscal year,
yeah.
fiscal year 13.
Well, I just have to contrast it to the bad old days, frankly, in
I
terms
know.
of how audits got done and when. So I'm just
Yeah.
saying, when we were looking at December for finishing them up, I'm thrilled that we're looking at this.
Mm.
Yeah, and we're this year reporting out our fixed assets, which we haven't really committed to in the past, which we did this year,
Mm-hmm.
which was taking all of our assets and valuing them and reflecting them on our books. So that's a new piece for us.
so that's ongoing. Highway general update, Des Moines roadside. Dan is desperately searching for a replacement tractor and mower. I don't know if anything will develop or not, but
What happened?
no, nothing happened, just that one
It's
is, doesn't
It's-
quite,
It's
you can't,
starting on, yeah.
you can't quite reach up to the guardrails on the backside, and
And on top of that, it's just every time, they've fixed it already twice this year, haven't they?
well, they
They just-
And so we are, that's a planned expense. This is not.
yeah, it's part of
Thank
the capital budget. Yeah, that's
Sorry, I
that
didn't-
figure we threw up in the air. Yeah. Other than that, I think just putting the culvert in up on by the farm,
Which one? Clarkson.
Barney Hill,
Okay,
Barney Hill,
great.
yeah. And that's been plugged for I think 2 years now. So
So they're replacing the culvert
yes, replacing it and moving it up the hill.
and moving it up the hill?
Yeah.
From on Barney Hill Road?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other than that, I guess there's not much else going on.
He's gonna start graveling after the
Yeah.
4th of July
Yeah.
as the finished work for
Yeah,
FEMA.
for the FEMA.
Oh, okay.
That's all he has left to do for FEMA. And the uniform municipal excess weight permit for Fitzpatrick.
Oh, well, I'll fill in all this stuff before I send
With
it.
the usual,
Yep.
with the
Usual
usual.
restrictions.
I'd like to make the motion, we give them the excess weight permit with all the usual restrictions.
Since he is married to my niece, I suppose.
I'll second that. But not for that
Definitely
reason.
moving over by you, Ian.
Yeah. Okay, you make the motion, is the motion made and seconded? Was it? Yeah,
I did
all in
second
favor?
it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Even though it is your niece's brother.
Finance.
Okay. I'd like to make the following motions that we pay payroll of $616.13 for $10,236.81. Payroll is $623.13 for $9,232.02. For a total of payroll for $19,468.83. I'd like to also make the motion that we pass warrant 23 for $22,680.83. Warrant number 23 DP for $91.51. For a total of warrants and payrolls of $42,241.16.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fine. I wanted to just bring up something, I don't know if you, I think you guys probably got this email too from Wendy Tudor, Municipal Planning
Oh,
Grant.
we're gonna get done now.
Okay, thank you.
Hmm.
We can talk, if you don't mind.
No. Go ahead. I'm just trying to make sure I've got, I need to write my signature 4 times, right?
4 times, yeah. 2 payroll, 2 warrants.
There you go. No.
Thank you.
Let's go payroll. And then the warrants 3 and 4. Okay, here are the warrants. Here you go, Troy. There's something I was going to ask about.
Yeah,
There was a
payroll.
professional audit too. and I can't remember. Oh, that's gone.
Here, warrants.
Oops, sorry. I didn't realize what you said. Thank you, I know, right? We're evil. Should be beaten with rulers, all of us.
I'm sure you got beaten with them, nothing.
I think everything
I think we're good.
was.
Oh, I should have put this on the agenda. I didn't think of it. We have some bills that came in for July. They're all of our insurance bills. So what I was hoping to do was close the month of June out on Friday and then do a warrant that pays those insurance bills so that they can get there by the 1st, so they're not late, because I wouldn't want any sort of situation
Lapse. Is
that
that,
occur where there could be lapse in coverage.
and that's
So-
in next year's fiscal?
It's in the next fiscal year. There's no way for me to pay, in NEMRIC, you can pay prior year's expenses, but you
not-
can't pay future year expenses. So I have to wait until,
You're gonna close it out and then.
I have to close June before I can do them, and I don't wanna put them in June, cause then I'll have to move them. So I was hoping that I could pay those. They will appear on the July 8th warrant for approval, but the checks will have already left the building.
I
They're
have no
for, I can
problem
tell you,
with
they're
that.
Blue Cross Blue Shields.
Yeah.
They're,
Yeah, it's the insurance
Unum,
stuff.
and they're, what's the third one? Delta. I
Delta,
think
I was
Delta,
gonna
Delta.
say Delta, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
have a problem with that.
yeah, I just,
Do you want a motion
Yeah,
on
I
that?
can-
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the sort of prepayment of
or you
the,
can authorize the board chair to sign the warrant.
there we go. To sign so a separate
I
warrant?
can produce a warrant for then, if you'll authorize him to sign it.
And so that'll be before July 1st.
And he'll sign it, and then you guys can sign the rest of it,
Sure.
so that there's accountability.
I'd like to authorize the board chair to sign a separate special warrant to prepay the insurance policies that are due before July 1st, but technically in fiscal year 14.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Confusing motion.
I know, really,
I'll
it was
tidy it
bad.
up.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
know.
I'm sorry. I'm
I'll
not
make
proud
sure
of
it's
that
clean.
one.
No, that's a toughie.
Yeah. Better Back Road Small Grant Program.
This one comes every year. Danny might have applied for it. It's for road inventory and capital budget planning and correction of road-related erosion problems. I didn't know if anyone wanted to think on that, and I was
How
gonna-
much kind of money do we get for it?
You never know.
Road inventory and planning is 4, and then correction of road-related erosion problem is maximum of 10. So it seems like they're more highway planning type kind of grants. If that
So we
makes sense.
couldn't get a grant for, because Green River always has.
Didn't Doohey the other day say apply for him anyway? Remember
Well, what we could do is,
Dan
Oh.
at the meeting the other day?
if we were thinking about our capital program, right now we only really use our capital program for equipment and, like buildings and that sort of stuff. We don't use it for our roadways at all. So Dan and I had been talking about the idea of having highway projects that are part of the capital program. So it's improving a section of roadway. Let's say it's the Hill and Green River.
If you look at it as a capital investment, you're
Exactly.
investing in your infrastructure.
Exactly, and then we'd actually report that project on our fixed assets and
Mhm.
start to track it. Like, we'll probably do our paved roads as a fixed asset because we're constantly investing in them, so we should really show that.
On a yearly budget,
Yeah, definitely. So dirt roads are kind of but bridges and all that sort of stuff are more improvements to our infrastructure, which are our assets. So
I think one of the things he had on his mind that we spoke about was bringing dirt roads up to blacktop specs and not blacktopping them.
In terms of width and,
Well, yeah, like Green River Hill, for instance, I mean, it needs to be totally dug out and drained and all of that, and bring it up to the prescribed road.
would it then not have the kind of continual problems that it has?
He talked about that a year ago.
Yeah,
I don't
we've
know.
talked about that before, about taking the places that, and we're also set up, or we're in the position where we can start to track certain trouble spots. So let's say next mud season, I'm gonna say to Dan, hey, can you give me all of your expenses and all of your materials and your time that you're putting into this portion of roadway? And we can start to track that, so we can say, you know what, we're throwing good money at bad every year in the same place. If we were to rebuild it, not have to do this anymore, in 5 years we'll have paid ourselves
Without
back.
necessarily paving it, just rebuilding
Just
the
rebuilding it.
substructure.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the bottom line is a well-built dirt road, gravel road is less
Sure.
expensive to maintain than
Absolutely.
blacktop.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
So, bottom line, in terms of this Backroads Small Grants Program, is there
We're
anything?
ready for it, yeah.
Okay,
But
that's
talk
what I
to
was
Dan,
getting,
yeah.
yeah.
I was
All
gonna,
right.
yeah, because it's gonna take a pretty
So-
significant amount, like a committee to work on it,
Yeah.
really would be, for the capital budget planning. The correction of road-related erosion is really, has to be tied to that breeze feels so good, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
It's
not
finally
like-
coming in. It's tied to water quality, so
Mhm.
unless it really affected
Yeah.
water quality,
Yeah.
they're not gonna care about our project. So that's one.
The Vermont Department of Forest and Parks and Recreation schedule for planning stewardship activity. I think that's mainly with the Roaring Brook down on the Vernon that comes into Guilford, on both sides of 91 down there.
Actually, it's
Probably
all
Sweets
of them.
Pond.
It's
Yeah,
Fort
it-
Dummer
it's-
State Park, it's Sweet Pond State Park.
Yeah,
Those are the two.
two. There's only
That
two.
they're planning on,
Yeah,
Yes.
Fort Dummer Campground Timber Harvest have hazard tree removal
Oh, yeah.
and selection, harvest, and invasive plant control. And then for Sweet Pond, it's timber harvest, selection, harvest stand 6, thinning stand 5.
remind me of the status of our Sweet Pond effort. I know I should know, but I'm drawing a blank on it right
We're
now.
kind of in limbo.
We're in limbo waiting for money, because we've kind of had approval from the state. They're pretty
I
much,
think it was based on their budget.
yeah, so that's, if ANR's budget is such that
If they fully funded their capital budget,
we would get that
maybe.
dam rebuilt.
And the issue is,
I'm hopeful.
We have great partners in our court.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. WW24373R, permit issued rounds, parcel 655.1, that's, I don't know whether how.
And they're really just correcting
They're
some kind of,
correcting,
that was
yeah,
done
yeah.
incorrectly, apparently,
Yeah.
a long time ago.
Wastewater for
Application
Greco
submitted.
and Tenini. for
Doggy
a-
daycare.
They are gonna, hook
They have
up
their
all-
permit in.
Yeah, okay. 3838 for cutting to replace wastewater system on Stage Road.
Permit was issued.
And email from Noel McKay,
This is the municipal
DHCD
planning.
Commissioner, Municipal Planning Grant Program.
That's what I'd asked about.
Yes.
Yes, and what is that all
We have gotten municipal planning grants in the past. The planning commission has gotten them.
about?
Mainly to work on revising the town plan and when they did the zoning bylaw. They used planning grant money for that. They increased the thresholds for planning grants. It used to be, I think the maximum was 7,500, and now they're up to 15 to 20,000 for a single municipality, which is pretty significant.
They increased their overall amount to 450,000 too.
Mhm. And what they're finding, they've done some surveying of towns, and this little bit of money allows towns to do some really great legwork that they normally would never do if they didn't have money to do it. So Anne had asked me to print this, and there are certain sections that you can apply for. One are bylaw updates. Another is utilities and facilities infrastructure planning, and the last one is updating or amending the municipal town plan.
Yeah.
So obviously we've done A and C before, and there's utilities and facilities infrastructure planning. Let me just read
I mean, I was wondering frankly, after our meeting last meeting, when we were talking about the possible purchase or not of that land, the possible re-siting of the recycle bins or not. That's why I didn't know if it made sense, if it's opening too big a can of worms to bring it up when Bob and Cheryl were here. But just if there was any way to get the feasibility, does this even make good sense? Is it feasible? Is it a wise decision for the town? I thought maybe a grant could help us, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I could pass that on, definitely pass it on to the planning commission.
Okay, I'll forward the email.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, if you look at that, but, yeah.
You know what would be great is to get all the current players on the planning commission and their email addresses.
Mhm.
When you go to the next meeting, do you mind circulating a sign-up
See,
sheet and everybody can
I
sign?
bet you that Peter Hessel has a,
Maybe right now.
I think, yeah, but anyway, I'll check with yeah. And Wyndham County Sheriff Department status report.
We have another VIN inspection.
They should be, did that.
And we are charged for it.
It's on our time.
It's on our time. Tyler,
You know Tyler Cook?
I do. Went to school with his father.
Who is he?
I do. Dick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have to talk to this. I haven't been
Alright.
up to Newfane, but I will,
And I'm playing phone tag with Keith Clark about coordinating that school town meeting for contract.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
Alright,
Make the motion to adjourn.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.